So you had some questions about onboarding. So what's the biggest challenge you're facing with new starters and the onboarding of them? Yeah, so there are a lot of touch points. Well, there should be a lot of touch points because that is the time that they are needing the most help, especially if they haven't really done this type of thing before, like they haven't been part of, I guess, a program that has this level of accountability and support. And this is effectively why they are coming to a place like yours and not to a big box gym where you get no accountability. That's it. So there are a lot of touch points and it can be a little bit labor intensive, but there isn't many other activities within your business outside of literally running sessions that's going to yield a better return on the time spent with this onboarding, because this is make or break for them. If they're not onboarded correctly, the likelihood of them joining after their initial program is really low. But if they are onboarded correctly, they have a lot of touch points, they start to form a relationship with the coach or the manager or yourself or whoever's doing this. Yeah, that's right. Whoever is actually the one sending these messages, talking to them on the phone, talking to them in person, they're going to feel more a part of your program. They're going to have that connection. So when it comes time to talk about membership, they're going to be much more likely, much more inclined to join because they have that connection. And it's a huge part of what your program is. It is that accountability. Like I said, otherwise they would be just going down to a big box gym and going at whatever time of the day. No one even knows if they're coming or if they're not. They don't say hello to anybody. They don't get any help. They get no accountability. And for most people, the accountability is where it has gone wrong in the past, and why they haven't succeeded is because they haven't had that support and having someone hold them accountable to it. So yeah, so it is important, and it is a lot in the first few weeks. You're wanting to firstly make sure that they make it into that first session. So you want to make sure you're sending them a message prior to that first session, the day before, morning of, the Friday before, perhaps it's a Monday, and saying that, looking forward to having you start at 6 a.m. on Monday. Can't wait for you to kick off with us. Trainer Johnny is going to be there. He'll be there to meet you, and looking forward to meeting you and getting you started. Just that alone puts you ahead of a lot of the other gyms in the area that don't even have something like that. So making sure you are sending that confirmation message and making them feel as comfortable as possible. And then after that first session, it's super important as well. Obviously, whoever is the trainer or the coach running that session, they're going to have a bit of a chat with them after the session on their way out. At least I'd hope so. Obviously, if they're busy, it can be challenging. So that's where you need to make sure you have a system in place where they're getting reached out to later that day or the next day. How was your first session? How did you find it? How's the body holding up today? When will your next session be? And showing that level of accountability, especially in these first few sessions, it's super important. And this should be repeated for the first week at a minimum. So if they're coming 3 times a week, you want to have touch points after every session, and then ensuring that they are booked in, whether it is through your software or if you have some sort of manual booking system, ensuring that they are scheduled, at least in their mind, to come in for the remainder of the week or for the next session. So that first week is essential. And you're wanting to do some sort of like a weekly wrap up, either on like the Friday or the Monday as well, and say, congratulations, you made it through your first week. We often find that this is the most challenging of all the weeks you'll ever be with us, so congratulations on making it through. I'm sure you're a little bit sore. It's completely normal, but just wanted to take a minute to say kudos and looking forward to having you in again next week. When will your sessions be next week? Or if it's a Monday, when will your sessions be this week? And then following that process again of having that accountability and support around that. And this isn't going to last forever. I mean, if you are like a personal training business, obviously it's probably more likely to look like this, but for group training, this isn't going to last forever. And the way you communicate that to them is, listen, I'm going to be providing a lot of accountability and support early on with a lot of touch points. I might even become a little bit annoying to you, but I can assure you that these first weeks are really important to make sure we get you in that right routine early on, and then you have that routine in place moving forward, so you need less of this. Does that sound fair? And they all will say yes. So for the first week, that's kind of what it needs to look like, or something very similar to that. Second week, maybe not quite as much, but the key is to ensure that they are coming in on that regular basis. If they are coming that sort of 3-ish times a week, if that's what's been agreed to, then you need to hold them accountable to that early on. If they only make it 2, you need to find out what session they missed. Which one did they say they were going to come to and they didn't? And just say, hey, I noticed you didn't make it in Wednesday. Just wanted to double check everything's okay, and wanted to reach out to see what your next one will be. That's the kind of accountability people need in those first few weeks, because from their end, they have probably failed before. And when they failed before, if they start to drop off the wagon, they miss a session, they miss 2 sessions, they miss a week, nobody reaches out to them, and before they know it, they've missed a month, 2 months, 6 months, and they've signed up to that 12-month membership, down at the big box gym, and never really used it. So this is why it's going to be different this time, because they have that extra support and accountability. So especially in those first few weeks, it's super important you're holding them accountable to that. And you get through the first few weeks, you might have that moment, once or twice, where you are holding them accountable, calling them out, and you can say to them, like, listen, it's my job to make sure you come in regularly, so I'm going to have some challenging and tough conversations with you if I feel like that you need it. And that's why you are part of this program, and why our members see good results, because they are attending regularly. Exactly. We all need accountability in all aspects of life sometimes, so especially in the early going, when they are forming a habit and forming a routine, it's really important. And with this intro program, if they have got started for that initial month, and you're talking about membership and things, as it gets towards the end of the month, if they haven't been coming regularly, they haven't had regular checking in points, they haven't had much communication from your end, then that conversation is going to be a lot harder. Whereas if you have reached out to them a few times a week, you might have had a phone call or two those first few weeks as well. When it comes time to talk dollars and cents with membership and longer term commitments, then it's going to become a lot more simple, because you've already laid the groundwork there early on. So I know it's not easy, and that is the reason why not many gyms do it at this level, because it isn't easy. It does take time, it does take effort, it does take organisation, where you have spreadsheets and you're keeping track of where people are at and what sessions they've been to, what they've missed. So it does take some organisation from yourself or your manager or the coach you've assigned this role. But I can assure you that it is going to be fruitful in the labour that you're investing in it is going to be totally worth it when you are starting to convert these people into members at a higher clip than if you weren't to be doing this. And when they start off so well and you're providing that accountability, quite often you'll find that level of attendance, that level of consistency will continue moving forward, because that first month or so they have received more of it than normal. And as long as you're having that conversation with them that, hey, this is when you need it the most, and I'm going to be on you, and I might be a bit annoying, and I am going to be persistent, but I can assure you I've got your best thoughts in mind, and we're wanting you to achieve the goals of X, Y, and Z that you mentioned early on. So you're having that conversation with them, you're laying the expectations, and as long as you're meeting or exceeding those expectations, that's when you know that they know that you're caring about them and you want them to come in and succeed and make the most of the program.